In this quick tip video for Chief Architect, I want to explore creating custom cabinet doors for cabinets. This is a continuation of a video that you can get on our website where we've already created the S-shaped door and the trapezoid-shaped door. And you can find that here on our website at chiefarchitect.com under our samples gallery, and it's this custom cabinet doors video here. To begin, I've opened up a wall elevation inside of Chief Architect. Let's place a wall cabinet, and let's explore this just a little bit. If we zoom in here, let's resize this to 42 inches. The way cabinets work in Chief Architect, if I double click and open it, there's a variety of things you can change. First of all, I've placed a generic cabinet that's not associated with a manufacturer. If I click on the door style, you can change the door with the library, and Chief Architect includes a variety of different door styles that are both manufacturer and generic cabinets. In the manufacturers, if we want to change this, let's say, to a craft-made cabinet, I'll just come down, find our craft-made catalog, find their door and drawer styles, pick a style of door, and now I can apply that and make it very specific to a manufacturer. The same thing I've done here is also to choose the wood species and the colors. Let's say you may be a custom cabinet company or a high-end kitchen and bath designer that wants to create a custom door style. Let's explore how we can do that. Step 1 to create a custom door style with Chief Architect. I'm going to use a solid tool called a Polyline Solid. You can find that up here in your menu on the top. Now I'm going to come in and create a solid that's about the same shape of our cabinet. I'm going to worry about too much about being specific, but I will set it to be 24 by 42. The same size as this box that I have on the screen. Now that I have that solid, which is an inch thick, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to create a raised panel door. And I'm just going to assemble these off to the side so it's easier for you to see. I want this second solid that I've created, I want to change the thickness of this to a 1/2 inch. So the first one I created will be the panel, the solid panel, and this will be the overlay that will be somewhat of a shaker style to begin with. So that's a 1/2 inch thick. And now to create the cutout for this shaker panel that will sit on top, I'm going to use the Copy in Place tool. Down here in the lower left-hand section of your menu, you see this Copy and Paste in Place. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I clicked it once. You can't really tell what I've done here, but I'm going to hold my C, the letter C down on the keyboard, and I'm going to slide that in. You see how that's concentrically resizing that copy? I'm also going to press the Tab key. And what this is going to do is, you may see a temporary dimension up here. I want this panel to be 2 1/4 inches in. Let's go ahead and set that to be 2 1/4 inches in. Exactly. And so that panel has that shape. The style on the sides will be 2 1/4 inches. And to cut that out, let's go ahead and select and open that object with a double click. And I have this option that create a hole in that solid. And that's what I'm going to select. Let me use my material eyedropper and let's apply the color from the basic cabinet. And then with the overhead camera view, let's go back to our floor plan. Let me just take an overhead camera. It may be easier to see what we're looking at here. So on the left is our slab door that will be our panel. This will be our raise with the cutout in it, and I'm going to move that over the top of the panel. Now the next step that I want to do is on the inside of this raised panel, I want to create a molding profile. So I want a nice molding that will go in there. Now remember that door is a 1/2 inch thick. So let's go back, and maybe I can tile my views here. So what I've done is pressed F6 on the keyboard to tile my views. And in the elevation view, let's go ahead and select that element that was our cutout, called the hole. And again, I'm going to copy and paste that into place because I don't want to redraw that. I don't want to be exact. So again, copy and paste in place, lower left-hand corner of your menu. Click that. You won't see anything happen because it's exactly over the top of that. But now that I have a copy of that geometric shape, I'm going to use this tool in the menu called Convert to a Plane Polyline. I'm going to select that, and then I'm also going to convert that once again. And I have an option here to convert it to a molding polyline, a 3D molding polyline. So let me select that. And once I do this, this is what's going to set up for that inset molding. Let's go in and choose our molding profile that we're after. So I'm going to open up the library and let's find a picture rail molding. We'll try this profile here. These are profiles you can draw or import from the manufacturer. Since my raised panel is a 1/2 inch, I'm going to set this to be the exact same thickness and exact same width. And temporarily, I'm going to set this horizontal offset to be 3 inches, just so you can see it in the video. I'll go back and reset that when we're finished. So, molding profile is a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and I've offset it with this profile at 3 inches so we can see it. So let me see if I can zoom in here a bit. So you can see that profile. So I've zoomed in so you can see the profile of that molding. So now what I want to do is I want to move this molding back into the raised panel section, and I'm also going to reset the dimensions of it so that it steps inside a 1/2 inch. To do that, I'm going to use my elevation camera off to the right. Once I've selected the molding, you can see my temporary dimensions. And I'm just going to highlight this, and I'm going to move it over a 1/2 inch on one side, and I'm going to move it a 1/2 inch on the other side. So just select that side and enter in the dimension. That's going to pull that molding inside of the door. Since my molding is a 1/2 inch in thickness, that will exactly position that inside. And I'll just do the same thing on the top and bottom here. Another way to resize it is to grab the molding, pull it down, press the tab key, and then you can also be very specific. You can see when I pulled that down, I pulled it down 4 inches, but I only want it to go down a 1/2 inch. So I can just press the tab key. Again, grab the handle, pull it, and then you can just press the tab key. And when I go up in that direction, it's a positive number. When I go down from the top, it's a negative number. So now I've got that positioned so that it will slide inside that raised panel. And if I open up by a double click on that molding profile, let's go ahead and set that horizontal offset back to 0. And that's probably positioned exactly against the wall. So I'm going to open up the plan view here, and let's zoom in and make some corrections. First of all, let's pull our wall back temporarily so we can see what we've got. So here's our door panel, and I'm going to want to grab that, and let's position that. I drew a marquee around it, so I got both the molding and I got the raised panel. Let's do a point-to-point move, and we'll position that over the door slab. So using the point-to-point move, down here in the menu on the lower side of your screen, I'm going to come in and I'm going to click on this point on that panel, and then I'm just going to scroll over and we'll click to this point where we want to position that. Okay, let's go back to our 3D view, and now you can see we've got our panel, our molding, and our raised section on that door. Let's use our material eyedropper, and we'll pick up the material off of the door and apply that onto the molding. Now if you wanted to leave that as a separate element so you could paint that a separate color, I probably wouldn't apply that color as I just did. Next step I want to do is I want to grab all of those elements we just created. I'm going to use a marquee and hold the Shift key down and drag a marquee around those. Now I've got them all selected. I'm going to create a block down here in the lower section of your menu, make architectural block. It's going to block those together. And now I'm going to copy that element so I can isolate it into a new plan. And let's explore how to convert that to a door symbol. Open up a new plan here in the menu. I'm just going to grab a new plan. I'm going to paste this element in there. And let's take a 3D. Just drag my camera in the direction of that. So here's our door. And the reason I've pasted this into a brand new plan is just to isolate the element, because I'm going to grab this door element and then I'm going to use a tool called Symbol Convert to Symbol. And that's in my Tools menu under Symbol. Let me just pull that dialog over. Add to Library, and I'm going to choose that it's a cabinet, door, or drawer. And that's how I'm going to get it into my library. Let's go ahead and give it a name. So let me highlight that. I'll call it My Cabinet Door. Press Enter, and now it's in my library. So let's close this plan, this untitled plan that we just created. I don't need to save it because I've now added that door in the library. And I'll close my library browser, delete the door that we had in the plan. And now the original cabinet that we placed, and we actually made this a craft-made door initially. Let's select that cabinet, double click it to open it, and then on the door and drawer tab, let's go ahead and change that to our cabinet door that we just created. So back into the library, come into My Library Elements under User Catalog. Here's the My Cabinet Door. Select OK. There's a preview of it. We'll select OK. There's the cabinet door. Now, one of the neat things is this is a parametric object, so that means it's just smart. So if I stretch this cabinet out, it's going to automatically create a set of double doors. So to summarize, we started out with a basic cabinet. We converted that to a manufacturer's cabinet door using KraftMaid. And then Chief Architect includes many door styles, as do the manufacturers. But if you want to create something custom, we went through those steps. If you're interested in learning more about Chief Architect, you can go to our website at chiefarchitect.com, download a trial version, and you can do the exact same thing. Hope you found it helpful.